to change pretty fast. Let's walk you through
Hang on.
some of the details. Yep, it's going to be one of those weeks, I have a feeling, especially in terms of how the weather is going to be panning out for us the next couple of days. Certainly, we had a lot of cloud cover around today. We were hopeful we would get a couple more breaks in some of this cloud cover. It's arriving. It's just arriving a little bit later into tonight. So that is what we will watch for, especially in terms of your temperature forecast headed into the overnight hours. These breaks in the clouds will be helpful for us tomorrow because that's really what's going to allow your temperature to warm a bit more than where we have the last couple of days. But it's going to kind of come at a little bit of a price because we will see some high level cloud cover moving in from time to time. That's out ahead of our next cold front, which arrives late tomorrow night. And that's really what kind of kickstarts all of these bigger changes that we're going to be tracking into the upcoming work week. So the fact that we've had some cloud cover around today means your temperature hasn't really moved a whole lot even this evening. Most of us are sitting right around the mid to upper 40s at this hour, so I don't anticipate a huge drop off in your temperature until we can really build in more of this clear sky, which for the most part is still down to our southwest. So a lot of us are dealing still with a lot of that cloud cover we saw earlier today. Headed into tonight, though, we should find some breaks in the clouds, and once that happens, temperatures will get a little bit cooler. We're off for about a mid to upper 30 to about low 40 degree start come tomorrow morning. Winds will stay very light, but you'll notice that wind direction change out of the south. That's what's eventually going to help us out a little bit as we go through the day tomorrow. I did knock down the temperature a little bit through the afternoon just because I think we're going to battle a bit more cloud cover through the day overall. It's not to say that you won't find the sun. First part of the day, though, likely going to be dealing with some of those clouds. Your best chance for a little bit of sunshine working in about midday through the early part of the afternoon. And then those clouds will start to thicken up once again by the time we get into tomorrow night. And that's when we're slowly starting to work in that rain chance. Again, this one doesn't really look to prove to be really that fruitful for us. We may get a couple showers after midnight tomorrow, headed into early Monday. But for the most part, this rain clears out of here pretty quickly, and it's not really a huge deal for us in the grand scheme of things. Now, we mentioned that there is snow in the forecast. We're going to talk a lot about kind of the tricky part of this forecast headed into the later part of this next week, coming up in just a few minutes. All right, as we look to wrap up the weekend, overall, not a whole lot changes from what we've seen the last couple of days. We're going to get more clouds in here across the area, especially as we kind of go through the first half of the day, but we should find a few breaks in there, and that will help that temperature back into about the 50s for tomorrow. If we can get more sunshine, maybe mid and upper 50s, but right now I'm thinking the mid 50s looks like a pretty good point for us to be come tomorrow afternoon. Then the early part of this next week really isn't all that bad, all things considered. Yes, it's going to be a bit more of an active pattern, and we will have a daily opportunity for rain, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be a complete washout. Temperatures will be warmer. We're talking upper 50s to about low 60s, and then the bottom starts to fall out, which is the reason for this background and seeing a little bit of that snow. It is possible that we get our first really good blast of colder air come late Wednesday, headed into early Thursday. And for us, that could mean rain quickly starts to transition over to some snow. So we've got a little bit of a wintry mix in the forecast for us by the end of the week, headed into the early part of this next week. And a lot of this has to do with the jet stream pattern. Look at how far to the south it sits right now. During the winter season, more specifically, the farther that jet stream goes to the south, the easier it is to allow some of that air that's been locked up in Canada for the last few months to eventually filter into the U.S. So as those systems then work their way through our area, if they can still hold on to that colder air, that's when you get sometimes that better chance to see that transition from rain over to a little bit of snow. Now, to this last couple rounds of activity we've seen, it's been all rain. Temperatures have been warm enough, and certainly this next system, which is brewing just off to the west of Chicago, you can see some scattered showers out there. That's really all it's going to be. A few showers here and there, basically, as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, I'm going to go through your future view a little quickly through the day tomorrow, just because there's not a whole lot that happens through a good majority of the day. You're dealing with some of the clouds. You've got a little bit of sunshine possible from time to time, but it's mainly cloudy skies that are pretty much going to be the dominating force for your day. By the time we get into Sunday evening, you're going to start to notice that breeze picking up a little bit more. That's with that next cold front coming in, but it's going to lack some moisture with it. Could you get some showers out of it? Absolutely. But the problem is it's just not going to fill in quite as robust as it is just off to our west. So I think for the vast majority, most of us will go through tomorrow night, early Monday without too many issues. By the time we get into late Monday, it's possible we could get a shower or two west of 71, but I think that better rain chance will start to build in by the time we get into your Tuesday. And this rain chance looks to be a bit better. The reason for it is that you have a warm front coming in. So you're building in your temperature and you're building in some of that moisture. So I wouldn't be surprised. We had a couple rumbles of thunder in the mix. I'm not expecting severe weather at all, mainly because of the timing that this system's coming through, but also the fact that you have a lot of cloud cover. It's not really going to help your temperature much until after this system passes. That's when it's going to recover and your temperatures could be back into the 60s. But beyond that point, we do have more rain chances in store for us come Wednesday. And that's the system that's likely going to unlock some of this colder air for us by the end of the week. And that's when you start to talk about that better potential that we could see a little bit of a wintry mix working back in late Wednesday night, headed into Thursday, though you'll notice your daytime highs are well above freezing at this point. So this will not necessarily be a snow event for everybody. Some of you could just be stuck with a cold, wind-driven rain. That is absolutely possible. We're going to talk a lot more about a lot of the new data that's coming in. What makes this forecast still tricky about 5 days out, coming up in the next half hour.